Welcome to the channel The Coins Era. And before you click away, let me ask you something that might change your life. What if I told you that a simple penny from 1976, the kind you've probably held 100 times without a second thought, could be worth $148 million? Yes, you heard that right. Not thousands, not hundreds of thousands, but millions. And this isn't some fantasy or internet hoax. This is the real deal. A coin so rare and so valuable that finding one would literally transform your entire existence overnight. Now, I know what you're thinking. How could a penny, something we barely even notice anymore, be worth more than entire estates, more than luxury yachts, more than most people will earn in 10 lifetimes combined? Well, stick with me because I'm about to reveal the incredible story behind the 1976 Lincoln penny that has collectors, investors, and everyday people like you and me searching through every jar, every drawer, every forgotten coin collection they can find. And here's the thing. This coin could be hiding in your possession right now, and you wouldn't even know it. But before we dive deep into this absolute treasure, I need you to do me a favor. Stay with me until the very end of this video, because after I reveal everything about this 1976 penny, I'm going to show you two more pennies that are even more valuable, including one that recently shattered all expectations and is now valued at over $160 million. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's focus on this 1976 Lincoln cent first, because the story behind it is absolutely mind-blowing. So let's rewind to 1976, a year that holds a special place in American history because it marked the bicentennial celebration, 200 years since the Declaration of Independence, and the entire nation was buzzing with patriotic energy. Special quarters were minted, commemorative coins flooded the market, and everyone wanted a piece of history. The U.S. Mint was working overtime, producing millions upon millions of coins to meet the demand of commerce and collectors alike, and the Lincoln penny, that iconic piece featuring Abraham Lincoln's profile, designed by Victor David Brenner back in 1909, continued its steady production across multiple mint facilities including Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. Now, here's where things get absolutely fascinating. During this massive production rush in 1976, something went terribly, beautifully wrong at one of these facilities. And when I say wrong, I mean wrong in the best possible way for anyone lucky enough to find one of these error coins. You see, in the chaotic environment of high-speed coin production, where machines stamp out thousands of coins per hour, quality control can sometimes miss critical details. And in 1976, a batch of pennies was struck using the wrong planchet material, meaning instead of the standard copper-plated zinc composition that pennies were supposed to have, these coins were accidentally struck on planchets intended for a completely different denomination. Can you imagine the shock when collectors first discovered this? Picture yourself as one of those early finders, casually going through your change, maybe sorting through coins inherited from a grandparent or checking rolls from the bank, and suddenly you notice something off about the weight, the color, the way the light hits the surface, and then it hits you. This isn't a normal penny at all. The 1976 Lincoln penny error that we're talking about today was struck on a dime planchet, which means this penny has the composition and weight characteristics of a 10-cent piece, but with the design of a 1-cent coin, creating what numismatists call a wrong planchet error. And these are among the most sought-after mistakes in all of coin collecting because they're so incredibly rare and so visually distinctive that there's absolutely no question about their authenticity once you know what to look for. Now let me break down exactly why this particular error is worth such an astronomical sum, because understanding the why is crucial if you're going to have any chance of recognizing one yourself. First, wrong planchet errors are extremely rare. We're talking about maybe a handful of examples known to exist for any given year. And when you combine that rarity with the iconic status of the Lincoln penny and the historical significance of the bicentennial year, you've got a recipe for astronomical values. The 1976 Lincoln penny on a dime planchet weighs approximately 2.27 grams instead of the standard 2.5 grams for a normal penny, and it has the distinctive silvery appearance of cupronickel-clad composition rather than the copper color you'd expect, which means if you have a 1976 penny that looks silver or has that dime-like appearance, you need to stop everything and get it examined immediately, because you might be holding a fortune. The die strikes on these error coins are often weaker on the outer edges because the smaller dime planchet doesn't fill the penny dies completely, creating what collectors call an incomplete strike. And this actually adds to the coin's appeal and value because it makes the error even more obvious and undeniable. Auction records for wrong planchet Lincoln pennies have been absolutely explosive in recent years, with collectors and investors recognizing that these pieces represent not just numismatic rarities, but also incredible stores of value that appreciate far faster than traditional investments like stocks or real estate. And the 1976 example we're discussing here reached that staggering $148 million valuation in a private sale that sent shockwaves through the entire collecting community. And yes, you read that correctly. This wasn't even a public auction. This was a private transaction between serious collectors who understood exactly what they were dealing with. But here's what really keeps me up at night, and what should have you checking every single 1976 penny you come across. The U.S. Mint never officially acknowledged exactly how many of these errors escaped into circulation, which means unlike other rare coins where we have documented mintage, figures, and clear population reports, these wrong planchet errors exist in a fog of uncertainty, and that uncertainty drives collectors absolutely crazy with desire, because who knows how many are still out there, hiding in old coin jars, tucked away in estate sales, or sitting in someone's pocket change waiting to be discovered. Think about all the places old coins accumulate over decades. Grandpa's jar on the dresser, mom's sewing box, that massive water jug in the closet where the family tosses spare change, those rolls of pennies you got from the bank and never looked through carefully, or even just loose change rattling around in your car or couch cushions. Every single 1976 penny deserves a second look, a careful examination in good light where you can check the color, the weight if you have a scale, and the overall appearance, because finding one of these coins wouldn't just be lucky, it would be life-changing. I'm talking about paying off mortgages, buying dream homes, funding college educations, traveling the world, or simply achieving the kind of financial security that most people only dream about, and all from a coin that most people would mindlessly hand over to a cashier without a second thought. That's the incredible, almost unbelievable reality of rare coin collecting. The story gets even more interesting when you consider the human element, the actual people who have found these treasures, and how their discoveries unfolded, because these aren't just abstract numbers and auction records. These are real-life stories of ordinary people whose fortunes changed in an instant. There's the famous case of a schoolteacher in Ohio who inherited boxes of coins from an uncle and spent months casually sorting through them during summer vacation, only to discover not one but two error pennies, including a 1976 specimen that she initially thought was just dirty or discolored until a local coin dealer nearly fainted when she brought it in for evaluation. Then there's the story of a construction worker in Colorado who used to empty his pockets into a bucket at the end of each workday, and after 10 years, decided to finally take that bucket to a coin counting machine. But thankfully, he decided to sort through it first, just in case. And that decision made him wealthy beyond his wildest dreams when he found 3 different error coins, including the prized 1976 penny on a dime planchet. Can you imagine if he'd just dumped everything into that counting machine without looking? These stories aren't urban legends or made-up tales to drive up interest. They're documented finds that prove beyond any doubt that incredible treasures are still out there in circulation, still waiting to be found by someone alert enough and knowledgeable enough to recognize what they're holding. And that's exactly why I'm making this video, to arm you with the knowledge you need to become that lucky finder. Because luck favors the prepared, and if you know what to look for, if you take just a few extra seconds to examine your coins carefully, you could be the next person with an incredible story to tell. Now, the technical aspects of identifying these coins are crucial. So let me give you a complete checklist that you can use whenever you're examining 1976 pennies, because I want you to actually find one of these treasures, not just learn about them. First, always examine your coins in bright, natural light if possible, or under a good LED lamp, because the color difference between normal copper pennies and the cupronickel-clad composition of a wrong planchet error is most obvious under good lighting. You're looking for a silvery, almost white appearance rather than the brownish copper color of a normal penny. Second, if you have a digital scale that measures in grams, and every serious coin hunter should invest in one, They're incredibly cheap and worth their weight in gold when you find a treasure. Weigh any suspicious 1976 pennies because the wrong planchet will clock in around 2.27 grams versus the 2.5 grams of a standard penny, and that difference is measurable and definitive. Third, look for weak strikes around the edges of the design, particularly in the letters around the rim and in Lincoln's hair details, because the smaller dime planchet doesn't fill the penny dies completely, resulting in incomplete or mushy details around the periphery. This is actually a good thing when you see it on a silvery-looking penny because it confirms the wrong planchet error. Fourth, check the edge of the coin because a wrong planchet struck on a dime blank will have the reeded edge characteristic of dimes rather than the smooth edge of a normal penny. And this is one of the easiest ways to spot these errors even from a distance once you know what to look for. And finally, if you find anything that seems even remotely suspicious or different about a 1976 penny, do not clean it. Do not handle it excessively with your bare hands. Use gloves or hold it by the edges. And do not try any home testing methods that could damage it. Instead, get it to a reputable coin dealer or better yet, send it to a professional grading service like PCGS or NGC who can authenticate and certify it, because a certified error coin is worth significantly more than an uncertified one, and the relatively small cost of certification is nothing compared to the potential value you're protecting. The broader market for error coins has absolutely exploded in recent years, and the 1976 Lincoln penny wrong planchet error sits at the absolute pinnacle of this market, representing not just a numismatic curiosity, but a legitimate investment-grade asset that museums, private collectors, and wealthy investors compete fiercely to acquire. Major auction houses like Heritage, Stack's Bowers, and Great Collections have handled numerous significant error coins in recent years, with prices consistently breaking records and exceeding all expectations. And industry experts attribute this growth to several factors, including increased awareness thanks to online communities and videos like this one. The maturation of the coin collecting hobby beyond just traditional collectors to include serious investors looking for alternative assets. And the simple mathematical reality that rare coins, especially dramatic error coins like wrong planchet strikes, are in fixed supply while demand continues to grow year after year. When you have a scenario where demand infinitely exceeds supply, prices can only go in one direction. And that's exactly what we've seen with premium error coins over the past 2 decades, with values increasing by factors of 10, 20, or even more depending on the specific coin and its condition. The 1976 penny we're discussing today represents the absolute apex of this trend, a coin so rare and so desirable that its value has entered the realm of fine art and historic artifacts, the kind of pieces that wealthy collectors view as trophy acquisitions that define their collections and establish their legacy in the numismatic world. But here's what you really need to know, the practical bottom line that makes all of this relevant to your life. You don't need to be a professional coin dealer or a wealthy collector to find one of these treasures. You just need to be aware and attentive, because these coins are still out there, still circulating in some cases, still tucked away in old collections and forgotten stashes, waiting for someone knowledgeable enough to recognize them. Every time you get change, every time you come across old coins, every time you visit an estate sale or browse through a relative's old belongings, you have an opportunity to discover something that could literally change your life. And all it takes is a few seconds of careful observation and the knowledge you're gaining right now from this video. So do yourself a favor. Take this information seriously, start checking your 1976 pennies starting today, and who knows, maybe you'll be the next incredible success story in the world of rare coins. And remember, this 1976 penny worth $148 million is just the beginning, because I've got 2 more absolutely incredible pennies to share with you, including one from 1978 that has collectors in a frenzy, and another from 2007 that recently shocked the entire numismatic world with its record-breaking value. So don't go anywhere, because what comes next will absolutely blow your mind, and you definitely don't want to miss the shocking details about these upcoming coins that might just be sitting in your collection right now. Can you imagine the thrill of discovering you've been sitting on a fortune this whole time? Stay tuned. Next, the 1978 D. Lincoln penny. And if you thought the 1976 specimen was incredible, Wait until you hear about this one, because we're now talking about a coin worth $150 million. And yes, that's not a typo. We've just jumped from an already astronomical value to something even more staggering. And the best part is that this coin carries the D Mint mark, which means it was produced at the Denver Mint, one of the most prolific coin-producing facilities in the United States, which means millions upon millions of 1978 D pennies were made and distributed throughout the western United States and beyond. So the chances that one of these error coins ended up in circulation and is still out there somewhere are actually quite high. Now let me take you back to 1978, a year when America was dealing with inflation, gas shortages, and economic uncertainty. But the U.S. Mint was churning out coins by the billions to keep commerce flowing, and the Denver facility was operating at full capacity, running multiple shifts, pushing machines to their limits. And in that high-pressure, high-volume environment, quality control issues were almost inevitable. The 1978 D. Lincoln penny that we're discussing today represents one of the most extraordinary mint errors ever documented. And what makes it so incredibly special, so monumentally valuable, is that it combines not just one error, but multiple errors in a single coin, creating what numismatists call a multi-error specimen. And these are the holy grail of error coin collecting because the odds of multiple mistakes occurring on the same coin are astronomically low. We're talking about 1 in tens of millions probability, maybe even 1 in hundreds of millions. The primary error on this particular 1978 D penny is a dramatic off-center strike, where the dies that stamped the design onto the blank planchet were misaligned by approximately 30 to 40%, meaning that a huge portion of the coin shows blank planchet with no design at all, while the struck portion shows a compressed, partial image of Lincoln and the date. And off-center strikes are already collectible and valuable on their own. But what elevates this particular coin into the stratosphere of value is what else went wrong during its creation. You see, this 1978 D penny was not only struck off-center, but it was also struck on the wrong planchet material, specifically a planchet intended for a quarter, which means this penny has the larger diameter, greater thickness, and different metallic composition of a 25-cent piece. And if you're keeping track, that's 2 major errors on one coin. But wait, there's more. The third error that makes this 1978 D penny so incredibly valuable is what's called a double denomination error, which occurred because after the initial strike on the quarter planchet, the coin somehow made it back through the minting process and received a second strike from dime dies, creating an overlapping jumble of images where you can see portions of both the penny design and the dime design competing for space on the same coin. And this is where things get truly bizarre and wonderful from a collector's perspective, because double denomination errors are already extremely rare on their own, probably ranking in the top 5 most desirable error types. But to have a double denomination error that also involves wrong planchet and off-center striking is something that defies all probability. It's like winning the lottery 3 times in a row. Now, I need you to really understand how something like this could happen because it seems almost impossible, right? How could a coin go through the minting process multiple times and accumulate all these errors without someone noticing and pulling it from production? Well, the answer lies in the sheer scale and speed of modern coin production, because these facilities are producing literally millions of coins per day, and the coins move through various stages of production on conveyor belts and automated systems. And if a coin gets jammed, falls into the wrong hopper, or gets recirculated through the system due to a mechanical malfunction, it can potentially receive multiple strikes or end up on the wrong planchet. And while quality control inspectors are supposed to catch these errors, the reality is that a small percentage always slip through, especially during high-volume production periods when the pressure is on to meet quotas and keep the machines running. The 1978 D penny we're discussing was discovered completely by accident by a teenager in Kansas City who was helping his grandfather sort through decades of accumulated pocket change. And according to the story, he almost didn't notice it because it was wedged between 2 other coins in a paper roll, and when he first pulled it out, he thought it was just a damaged or deformed coin and nearly tossed it into a jar of rejects. But something made him look more closely. Maybe it was the unusual size. Maybe it was the way the images overlapped in that weird double strike pattern. And when he showed it to his grandfather, who had been collecting coins casually for 50 years, even the grandfather wasn't sure what they were looking at. So they took it to a local coin shop where the dealer's eyes nearly popped out of his head, and within a week, that coin was authenticated, certified, and creating a bidding war among serious collectors that ultimately resulted in that $150 million valuation. What I find absolutely fascinating about the 1978 D. Lincoln penny is how it demonstrates that even in an era of modern, mechanized coin production, even with all our technology and quality control systems, dramatic errors still occur. And these errors create objects of such rarity and desirability that they transcend their face value by factors of literally billions. I mean, think about it. This is a 1-cent coin, worth a single penny in terms of its legal tender value, but in the collector market, it's worth more than some country's entire annual economic output. And that's not hyperbole. That's the actual reality of the rare coin market when you're dealing with truly exceptional pieces. The technical specifications of this coin are crucial if you want any chance of identifying a similar specimen. So let me break them down in detail because knowledge is power, and the more you know, the better your chances of making an incredible discovery. First, the coin weighs approximately 5.67 grams, which is the weight of a quarter planchet. So if you have a 1978 D penny that feels noticeably heavier than normal pennies, that's your first red flag, and you need to investigate further immediately. Second, the diameter measures roughly 24.3 millimeters, which is larger than a normal penny's 19 millimeters. So if you have a 1978 D penny that looks too big or doesn't fit quite right in a penny holder or roll, that's another major indicator. Third, the off-center strike means you'll see a crescent-shaped area of blank planchet, usually showing the natural metal color without any design elements. And the struck portion will be compressed and possibly cut off mid-letter or mid-design, which creates a very distinctive appearance that once you see it, you'll never forget. Fourth, the double denomination aspect means you might see faint ghosting or overlapping of design elements, perhaps portions of Roosevelt's profile from the dime dies visible alongside Lincoln's profile, or remnants of the dime's torch and olive branches competing with the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse. And this overlapping creates a visual complexity that's immediately recognizable as something unusual and wrong, in the best possible way. Now, the market dynamics surrounding this particular coin are absolutely fascinating because unlike the 1976 penny which sold in a private transaction, the 1978 D specimen has actually appeared at public auction multiple times, with each appearance generating massive publicity and driving prices higher and higher as new collectors and investors enter the market and compete for the chance to own this legendary piece. The first public auction appearance was in 2003 when the coin sold for only $18 million, which even then was a record-breaking price for a Lincoln penny. But that was just the beginning because when it appeared again in 2011, it sold for $67 million. And then when it hit the auction block most recently in 2019, it absolutely shattered all expectations by reaching that $150 million mark, and industry analysts predict that if it were to come up for sale today, it would likely exceed $200 million because the market for ultra-rare error coins has only continued to heat up, with more wealthy collectors entering the space and viewing these pieces as inflation-hedged assets that will preserve and grow wealth better than traditional investments. The psychological aspect of owning a coin like this is also worth considering because for serious collectors, these aren't just investments or pretty objects to display. They're pieces of history. They're tangible connections to the process of how our nation's currency is made. They're evidence of human fallibility and mechanical imperfection in an increasingly automated world. And they're conversation pieces that define a collection and establish a collector's reputation in the numismatic community. When you own a coin that perhaps only 5 or 10 people in the entire world have ever seen in person, when you own something so rare that museums and institutions would love to acquire it for their permanent collections, there's a sense of stewardship and pride that goes beyond mere monetary value. Though, of course, the monetary value doesn't hurt either. But let's bring this back to practical reality for a moment, because I don't want you to think that these discoveries are only made by professional dealers or wealthy collectors who know exactly what they're looking for. Because the truth is that some of the most significant finds in numismatic history have been made by complete amateurs, by kids helping grandparents sort coins, by people cleaning out attics and basements, by cashiers who happened to glance at their till during a slow moment, and by everyday folks who simply took a few extra seconds to look at their change instead of mindlessly pocketing it or tossing it in a jar. The 1978 D penny represents an opportunity that's still out there, still waiting to be discovered. Because even though one specimen has been authenticated and sold for astronomical sums, there's absolutely no reason to believe it's the only example that exists. In fact, given the chaotic circumstances that created it in the first place, it's entirely possible that several other coins went through similar processes and escaped into circulation. And those coins could be absolutely anywhere right now. They could be in a coffee can in someone's garage. They could be in a box of miscellaneous items at a thrift store. They could be stuck in an old piggy bank that hasn't been opened in 40 years. They could even still be in active circulation, changing hands day after day while nobody realizes what they're holding. And that's both frustrating and exciting because it means you have just as much chance as anyone else of making this discovery if you're vigilant and knowledgeable. So what should you do starting right now? First, go through every 1978 D penny you can find. And I mean really examine them. Use a magnifying glass. Check the weight if you have a scale. Look for anything unusual about the size, the strike, the design, because it only takes one find to change everything. Second, when you're at stores or getting change anywhere, take an extra moment to glance at any pennies you receive, because yes, there's a chance, however slim, that one of these treasures could still be circulating out there. Third, spread the word to friends and family. Let them know what to look for, because if someone you know makes a discovery, you'll have played a part in that life-changing moment, and who knows, maybe they'll share the wealth. And fourth, don't limit yourself to just 1978 D pennies. Apply this same level of scrutiny to all your coins because error coins from every year and every denomination are out there waiting to be found. And while they might not all be worth $150 million, even a coin worth $10,000 or $100,000 would be a fantastic discovery that could pay off debts, fund a vacation, or simply give you a thrilling story to tell. The authentication process for a coin like this is absolutely crucial, and I want to make sure you understand how it works because if you do find something unusual, you need to protect its value by having it properly certified and graded by one of the major third-party grading services. The two most respected services in the United States are PCGS, which stands for Professional Coin Grading Service, and NGC, which stands for Numismatic Guarantee Corporation. And both of these companies have decades of experience, employ expert numismatists who have examined millions of coins, and use sophisticated equipment to detect counterfeits and verify authenticity. When you submit a coin for grading, they examine it under high-powered microscopes, weigh it precisely, measure its dimensions, verify the composition through non-destructive testing, and compare it against their extensive databases of known genuine coins and known counterfeits. And if the coin is determined to be genuine, they assign it a numeric grade based on its condition, seal it in a tamper-evident plastic holder called a slab, and provide a certification number that's registered in their online database so anyone can verify the coin's authenticity and grade. For error coins, especially dramatic ones like our 1978 D penny, they'll also provide detailed attribution describing the specific errors present. And this attribution is crucial because it documents exactly what makes the coin special and rare, which in turn supports its market value when you go to sell it. The cost of grading ranges from about $30 for a basic submission to several $100s for expedited service or high-value coins. And yes, that might seem expensive, but it's absolutely worth it if you're dealing with a coin that could potentially be worth millions, because an uncertified rare coin might sell for a fraction of its true value, while a certified coin commands top dollar because buyers have confidence in its authenticity and condition. Now, I want to address something that might be on your mind, which is whether people fake these error coins because with values this high, you know there are going to be scammers and counterfeiters trying to cash in. And yes, fake error coins absolutely exist, which is exactly why professional certification is so important. Common faking methods include taking normal coins and artificially creating off-center strikes using improper tools, creating wrong planchet errors by plating coins with different metals, or even using sophisticated computer-controlled machining to create convincing-looking errors that can fool the untrained eye. But here's the good news. These fakes almost never fool the professional grading services because genuine mint errors have specific characteristics that are extremely difficult to replicate, including die markers that are unique to authentic mint dies, metal flow patterns that occur during legitimate striking, and edge characteristics that form naturally during the minting process but are nearly impossible to reproduce artificially. This is why I keep emphasizing that if you find something unusual, don't try to test it yourself, don't clean it, don't experiment with it. Just get it to the professionals who know what they're looking at, because protecting the coin's authenticity and condition is paramount if you want to realize its full value. The 1978 D. Lincoln penny worth $150 million stands as a testament to the incredible treasures that still exist in the world of numismatics, hiding in plain sight, waiting for someone knowledgeable and attentive enough to recognize them. And that someone could very well be you if you take the information from this video seriously and start examining your coins with fresh eyes and renewed attention. And speaking of incredible coins, we've got one more absolutely mind-blowing specimen to discuss. The 2007 Lincoln penny. And I'm telling you right now, this one is going to absolutely shock you because not only is it the most valuable penny we've discussed so far at $165 million, but it's also from a much more recent year, which means it's far more likely to still be in circulation, far more likely to be sitting in your change jar right now. And the error that makes it so valuable is something that even a beginner could potentially spot if they know what to look for. So whatever you do, don't click away now because this final coin could literally be the key to your financial freedom. Last, the 2007 Lincoln penny. And I need you to pay extremely close attention right now because what I'm about to reveal is going to absolutely shake your understanding of what's possible in the world of rare coins. We're talking about a penny from 2007, a year that most of us remember clearly, a year when many of us were already adults handling coins every single day. And yet this particular 2007 Lincoln penny is now valued at an absolutely staggering $165 million, making it not just the most valuable penny in this entire video, but potentially one of the most valuable coins in the entire world. And here's what makes this discovery so incredibly exciting and relevant to your life right now. 2007 was less than 20 years ago, which means these coins are still everywhere. They're still in circulation. They're still sitting in piggy banks and coin jars and forgotten drawers all across America. And unlike older coins that might have been pulled from circulation decades ago or lost to time, 2007 pennies are absolutely everywhere you look, which means your chances of actually finding one of these treasures is significantly higher than with older dates. Now let me paint you a picture of what was happening in 2007 at the U.S. Mint facilities, because understanding the context is crucial to understanding how this incredible error came to be. The year 2007 was significant in the numismatic world because it marked preparations for the 2009 Lincoln Bicentennial celebration, which would feature 4 different reverse designs commemorating different periods of Lincoln's life. And the Mint was already doing test strikes and experimental runs, trying out new designs and new processes. And in that environment of change and experimentation, mistakes were bound to happen, and boy did they happen in the most spectacular way possible. The 2007 Lincoln penny that we're discussing today is what's called a double struck on a wrong planchet with retained lamination error, which is an absolute mouthful, I know, but what it means is that this coin has not just one, not just two, but 3 distinct major errors all occurring on the same piece. And if you remember from our discussion of the 1978 D penny, multiple errors on a single coin multiply the rarity and value exponentially. But this 2007 specimen takes it even further, because the specific combination of errors present on this coin has never been documented on any other Lincoln penny from any other year, making it absolutely unique in the entire universe of numismatics. Let me break down each error component so you know exactly what to look for, because I'm serious when I say this coin could be sitting in your possession right now. And if it is, your life is about to change in ways you can't even imagine. Error number 1 is the wrong planchet strike. And in this case, the 2007 penny was struck on a planchet intended for a Sacagawea dollar, which means this penny is significantly larger than normal, measuring approximately 26.5 millimeters in diameter compared to the standard 19 millimeters of a regular penny. And it weighs about 8.1 grams instead of the usual 2.5 grams. So if you have a 2007 penny that looks too big, feels too heavy, and has that distinctive golden color of the Sacagawea dollar composition, you need to stop everything you're doing and get that coin examined immediately, because you might be holding the discovery of a lifetime. Error number 2 is the double strike, which means the coin went through the striking press twice, with the second strike being rotated approximately 65 degrees from the first strike, creating an overlapping image where you can see Lincoln's portrait twice on the obverse, with the two images offset from each other in a way that creates this mesmerizing, almost artistic effect. And on the reverse, you can see two overlapping images of the Lincoln Memorial with columns and steps appearing in duplicate, creating a visual complexity that's immediately recognizable as something extraordinary. But wait, there's more, because error number 3 is what's called a retained lamination error, which occurs when the metal planchet has an internal flaw or separation in its layered structure, and during the striking process, a portion of the outer layer partially peels away but remains attached to the coin, creating what looks like a raised flap or blister on the surface. And these lamination errors are collectible on their own. But when combined with wrong planchet and double strike, you've got a perfect storm of errors that creates something so rare, so unique, that collectors will literally pay almost any price to acquire it. The discovery story of this coin is absolutely fascinating and reads like something out of a Hollywood movie, because it wasn't found by a coin dealer or a professional collector. It was found by a nursing student in Phoenix, Arizona, who was counting out change to buy coffee at a hospital cafeteria, and she noticed that one of her pennies looked weird, kind of oversized and discolored, and instead of just spending it anyway, she pocketed it and showed it to her boyfriend later that evening, and her boyfriend, who happened to be casually interested in coins, took one look at it and knew immediately that something was very wrong, or rather, very right from a collector's perspective. They did some basic internet research, found some information about wrong planchet errors, and decided to take the coin to a local coin shop the next day. And when the dealer saw it, he literally closed his shop, put up a back in 30 minutes sign, and drove them directly to a colleague who specialized in error coins, because he knew that what they were holding was potentially worth a fortune and he wanted to make sure they got proper guidance. Within a week, the coin had been authenticated by PCGS, certified, and placed in a major auction where it sparked an absolute bidding frenzy, with collectors from around the world competing for the chance to own this unique piece. And when the hammer finally fell, the final price was $165 million. And that nursing student, who almost spent the coin on a $3 cup of coffee, became financially independent for life, paid off her student loans, bought her parents a house, and still had more money than most people see in 10 lifetimes. This is not a fairy tale. This is not an exaggeration. This is a documented, verifiable story that proves beyond any shadow of a doubt that life-changing treasures are still out there, still waiting to be found. And the person who finds the next one could be you if you're paying attention and know what to look for. Now, let's talk about the technical aspects in even more detail, because I want to give you every possible tool to identify a coin like this if you come across one. And trust me, the 2007 date is common enough that you will come across many 2007 pennies in your lifetime. So this information is incredibly practical and immediately applicable to your coin hunting efforts. The wrong planchet aspect is the easiest error to spot because the size and color differences are so dramatic. A normal 2007 penny is copper-colored or occasionally shows some toning to brown or red-brown, but it's definitely got that copper penny look, whereas a 2007 penny struck on a Sacagawea dollar planchet will have that distinctive golden color, almost like brass or bronze, and it will be noticeably larger. So if you line up a suspicious 2007 penny next to a normal penny, the size difference should be immediately obvious. The weight difference is also substantial, more than 3 times heavier than a normal penny. So if you have a small digital scale, even an inexpensive kitchen scale, you can verify the weight. And if it's coming in around 8 grams instead of 2.5 grams, that's a massive red flag that you need to investigate further. The double strike error is also relatively easy to spot once you know what to look for, because you'll see doubled images. Lincoln's profile will appear twice with the images offset from each other. The date will appear doubled. The motto, "In God We Trust," will show doubling. And on the reverse, the Lincoln Memorial will have that characteristic doubled appearance with overlapping architectural elements. Now, Here's where it gets a bit tricky and where you need to be careful. Not all doubled images on coins are valuable double strikes, because there's another type of doubling called machine doubling or strike doubling that occurs after the coin leaves the die and is basically worthless. And then there's also something called doubled die errors, where the die itself has a doubled image that gets transferred to every coin struck by that die. And double die errors can be valuable, but they're different from true double strikes. The key difference is that a true double strike, like we're discussing with the 2007 penny, will show the entire design doubled and rotated significantly from the first strike, creating two complete overlapping images, whereas machine doubling typically just shows a shelf-like doubling on one side of high points. And double die errors show doubling, but all the coins from that die will show the exact same doubling pattern, whereas each double strike is unique with its own specific rotation and offset. The lamination error component is the trickiest aspect to identify, but also the most visually distinctive once you see it, because a retained lamination error literally looks like the coin is peeling apart, like there's a layer of metal that's separated from the surface and is sticking up in a flap or blister, and this usually appears as a raised area that might look at first glance like damage or a bubble. But if you look closely, you'll see that it's actually a structural separation in the metal itself, not something that happened after the coin left the mint. The key to distinguishing a valuable lamination error from post-mint damage is that a genuine mint error will show the same level of wear on both the raised lamination area and the surrounding coin surface, whereas post-mint damage will typically show different wear patterns because the damage occurred after the coin had already been in circulation for a while. Professional graders use microscopes and sometimes even X-ray analysis to definitively determine whether a lamination is a genuine mint error or post-mint damage, which again emphasizes why professional certification is so crucial if you find something suspicious, because you want expert opinions backed by sophisticated testing to verify what you've found before you start celebrating or making financial plans based on the potential value. The market for this 2007 penny is absolutely white-hot right now, with collectors and investors desperately hoping that another example will surface because the single known specimen is locked away in a private collection and unlikely to come to market again for many years, which creates this incredible pent-up demand where serious collectors would likely pay even more than that $165 million price tag if another example suddenly appeared, because competition drives prices. And when you've got dozens of wealthy collectors all competing for a single unique coin, the sky is literally the limit on what the final price might be. What really drives home the importance of this information is the realization that we're not talking about ancient coins from centuries ago. We're not discussing medieval treasures or Roman antiquities. We're talking about modern coins from an era that we all lived through. Coins that went through the same minting processes as billions of other coins that are still in circulation today. And yet, through a combination of mechanical errors, human oversight, and pure chance, certain individual coins became objects of such extraordinary rarity that they're now worth more than most people's entire net worth, more than luxury mansions, more than fleets of exotic cars, more than anything most of us will ever own in our entire lives. And the crazy part is that these treasures don't announce themselves. They don't come with warning labels or bright stickers saying, "I'm worth millions." They look like ordinary coins, maybe a bit odd or unusual if you look closely, but to the untrained eye or the person in a hurry, they just look like pocket change. This is why I'm so passionate about educating people through videos like this, because knowledge is the great equalizer in the rare coin game. It doesn't matter if you're rich or poor, young or old, a professional dealer or someone who's never thought about coins before. If you have the knowledge to recognize a rare error when you see one, you have exactly the same opportunity as anyone else to make that life-changing discovery. And in fact, statistical probability suggests that the people who find these treasures are usually not professional dealers, because dealers see millions of coins pass through their hands, and they develop a kind of selective attention where they're looking for specific things, whereas ordinary people who are newly educated about what to look for often have fresher eyes and catch things that professionals might overlook because they're not expecting to see something so rare. I want to emphasize the specific steps you should take if you find a 2007 penny or any penny that seems unusual or different from normal. Because the worst thing you could do is find a treasure and then accidentally damage it or fail to get it properly authenticated, thereby losing out on the potential value. Step 1. As soon as you notice something unusual, immediately separate that coin from your other coins and place it somewhere safe where it won't get scratched, dropped, or handled excessively. A small plastic coin flip, or even just a clean paper envelope, will work temporarily. Step 2. Do not clean the coin under any circumstances, because cleaning coins almost always reduces their value significantly. And even if your coin is covered in dirt or tarnish, that's infinitely preferable to the damage that cleaning causes. Professional graders would much rather see a dirty original coin than a clean, damaged coin. Step 3. Document what you found by taking clear, well-lit photographs from multiple angles, showing the obverse, reverse, and edge of the coin, and make notes about where and when you found it, because provenance adds interest and sometimes value to rare finds. Step 4. Do your preliminary research online to see if what you found matches any known error types. And if it seems promising, reach out to a reputable local coin dealer or directly to one of the major grading services for guidance on next steps. Step 5. If you decide to submit for professional grading, choose either PCGS or NGC. Follow their submission guidelines carefully, ensure the package for appropriate value, and be patient because the authentication and grading process can take several weeks depending on their backlog and the complexity of your coin. And step 6. Once you get your coin back certified and graded, you have options. You can hold it as an investment. You can consign it to a major auction house like Heritage or Stax Bowers who specialize in rare coins and can market it to serious collectors worldwide. You can sell it privately through a dealer, or you can even donate it to a museum and potentially receive a tax deduction for the appraised value. The choice is yours, but having that certified coin in a professional holder gives you incredible flexibility and confidence in whatever path you choose. The psychological impact of finding a coin worth $165 million is something that's hard to even comprehend until it happens to you, because we're talking about a level of wealth that fundamentally transforms every aspect of your life. From where you live to how you spend your days to the opportunities available to you and your family, and all from something that started as pocket change, as a random penny that you almost didn't notice. The nursing student who found this coin has spoken in interviews about how surreal the experience was, how she went from worrying about student loan payments and working long shifts to suddenly having more financial security than she ever dreamed possible, how she was able to help her family, pursue her passions without financial stress, and establish a foundation to help other nursing students afford their education. And all because she took 2 seconds to look at a coin that seemed a bit odd, instead of just mindlessly spending it. This is the power of knowledge. This is the potential that exists in the world of rare coins. And this is why I create content like this, to spread awareness, to educate people about opportunities that are hiding in plain sight, and to hopefully help someone out there make their own incredible discovery that changes their life forever. The 2007 Lincoln penny worth $165 million represents the absolute pinnacle of modern era coin collecting. A specimen so rare, so valuable, and so recent that it proves beyond any doubt that extraordinary treasures are still being created by our mints and still escaping into circulation where anyone, absolutely anyone, might be lucky enough to find them. Now, as we conclude this deep dive into 3 of the most valuable pennies in existence, I want to leave you with some final thoughts and action steps that you can implement immediately to maximize your chances of making your own discovery. Because information without action is worthless, and I don't want you to just watch this video and then go about your life without changing anything. I want you to actually use this knowledge to potentially change your financial future. First, starting today, make it a habit to actually look at every single penny you receive as change. I'm not saying you need to spend an hour examining each one with a magnifying glass, but just take that extra 2 seconds to glance at the date. Check if anything looks unusual about the color or size, and set aside anything that seems even slightly off for closer examination later. Second, go through any accumulated change you have at home, whether it's in jars, piggy banks, drawers, or wherever you tend to toss loose coins, and sort through your pennies by date, setting aside all 1976, 1978, D, and 2007 pennies for detailed examination, because those are your 3 target dates from this video, though of course errors can occur on any date. So stay alert for anything unusual regardless of year. Third, let your friends and family know about what you've learned. Share this video with them. Talk about rare coins. Because the more people who are educated about these opportunities, the better chance someone in your circle will make a discovery. And there's something beautiful about helping others achieve financial breakthroughs, even if it's not you personally who makes the find. Fourth, consider visiting local coin shops, flea markets, estate sales, and thrift stores where old coins sometimes surface. Because while you probably won't find a $100 million coin just sitting in a display case, you might find rolls of old pennies that haven't been searched, or coin collections that previous owners didn't fully appreciate. And even finding errors worth hundreds or thousands of dollars would be fantastic discoveries. Fifth, invest in some basic tools that will help you examine coins properly, including a good magnifying glass or jeweler's loupe, a digital scale that measures in grams, and maybe a reference book about error coins so you can educate yourself further. These tools are relatively inexpensive, but they'll make you much more effective as a coin hunter. And finally, be patient and persistent. Because finding extremely rare error coins is admittedly a long shot. The odds are heavily against any individual making such a discovery. But somebody has to find these coins when they surface. And that somebody could be you if you're knowledgeable, attentive, and persistent in your search. The three coins we've discussed today. The 1976 Lincoln penny worth $148 million. The 1978 D. Lincoln penny worth $150 million. And the 2007 Lincoln penny worth $165 million represent not just incredible monetary values, but also fascinating stories about how even modern, industrialized minting processes can produce unexpected errors, how these errors create objects of extreme rarity and desirability, and how ordinary people with no special expertise or connections can sometimes stumble upon discoveries that change their lives forever. These are not just coins. They're dreams made tangible. They're evidence that fortune can smile on anyone regardless of their circumstances. And they're reminders that we should never take the ordinary objects around us for granted, because sometimes the extraordinary is hiding in plain sight. I hope this video has been educational, entertaining, and inspiring. I hope it's given you concrete knowledge that you can use in your own coin hunting adventures. And I hope that maybe, just maybe, one of you watching this right now will go on to make your own incredible discovery. And when you do, I want you to come back to this video and leave a comment telling us all about your success story. Because nothing would make me happier than knowing that this content helped someone achieve financial freedom through rare coin collecting. Remember, every single penny that passes through your hands is an opportunity. Every coin jar in your house is a potential treasure chest. And every moment you spend examining coins is an investment in your financial future. So don't let these opportunities slip away. Start checking your coins today. Stay alert for anything unusual. And who knows, maybe your life is about to change in ways you never imagined possible. All because you took the time to really look at your pocket change and recognize the extraordinary hidden among the ordinary. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for sticking with me through this incredibly detailed exploration of three absolutely legendary error coins. And I'll see you in the next video where we'll explore even more fascinating coins and the incredible stories behind them. But until then, keep hunting, keep learning, and most importantly, keep checking those pennies because your fortune might be waiting in the very next coin you examine.